What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing some PlastiDip color experimentation. Let's jump into it. So let's talk real quick about PlastiDip in general. There's kind of a negative stigma in the car community and really just kind of in general about PlastiDip, that it's cheap, it's not very good. You know, you just kind of spray your wheels in, standard black PlastiDip, and that's about all you can do with it. But the technology around PlastiDip has changed significantly in the last few years, and there's tons of different finishes, color changing effects. Like, there's so many different ways that you can use PlastiDip, it's kind of insane. So my plans for using PlastiDip are basically today just to be using these little speed shapes to test out multiple different base colors, as well as I have a couple of different clear coat finishes that I want to test. And the end goal is going to be pulling the interior panels off of my Subaru BRZ and spraying them down with whichever combination of base color and clear coat effect I like the best. So the company called DipYourCar has tons and tons of base colors, clear coats, pearl additives, micro flake additives, tons and tons of different stuff. So I'll leave a link in the description for if you guys want to check out their website. They also have a YouTube channel where they do combinations of base colors, crazy combos between base colors and pearls and different kinds of stuff, where they just mix things together that you wouldn't think would turn out well, but they actually end up turning out fantastic. So yeah, there's going to be a link in the description if you guys want to check that out. So all of the products I have for this little experiment come directly from their website. This is not a sponsored video, but I really like what they're doing with the product and the capability of what you can do with PlastiDip using their system. So the colors we have today are just standard black PlastiDip. We also have like a desert tan, which I don't know if you guys can really see that based on the light, but this is kind of in substitute for like an avalanche gray or like a Nardo gray, because they didn't have that in an aerosol. And then I just have a standard white. So I've got like a black, a white, and then kind of a mid color, which is intended to be a gray, but this is just kind of a color experiment. And if I like a color over the tan the best, then at that point I'll end up going to like buying a full gallon of a gray as opposed to like actually with a tan, because the tan won't necessarily fit the color scheme I'm going for. This is just a substitute for a gray because they didn't have a gray aerosol. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna be using the pre-dip spray from DipYourCar on my little speed shapes, which honestly, like, these are basically brand new, like straight out of the package. You probably don't need to do this, but just for the sake of practice, for like when I do it on my actual like panels for the car, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. Okay, so now that I have the speed shapes cleaned up and I have the pre-dip spray applied, I'm going to let them dry completely before I start applying the base coats. So I have the 3 different base coat colors, and I have 2 speed shapes for the black, 2 speed shapes for the tan, and then 2 shapes for the white. And once I have the base colors applied, then I'm going to go in with the glossy dip pearl top coat, which is essentially the PlastiDip version of a clear coat, and I'm going to mix in these blaze red microflakes. I don't know how well you guys can see that. These are gonna look pretty sick over top of the black, I think. I think they're gonna look best over the black, but what I'm gonna do is I have these, and then I also have the red Martian color shift pearls. It's a white base pearl, so what that's going to give me is more of a color effect than a solid color shifting base over top. So I'm gonna take 1 of the speed shapes for each color, and I'm gonna apply the microflakes to them, and then I'm gonna take 1 of each color and apply the color shift pearl to it. So with that, I'm gonna decide which one I like the best, and then I'm gonna take the panels off of the BRZ, spray them down, and it should look pretty sick. It's gonna be a pretty nice improvement to the overall interior quality of the car. But that is gonna be a separate video. This is just the experimentation with the colors. So now let's just go ahead and jump in with the base coat colors on the speed shapes. Now, I didn't mention this, but I will be using a half face respirator. Now, anytime you're spray painting or plasti dipping or anything, there's gonna be a lot of aerosols that are going to be floating around in the air, and you don't want to be inhaling that. You don't want to be getting that in your lungs. So make sure you're using your PPE. I think this is like 30 bucks or something like that. So definitely pay a little bit of extra money to protect your health. Now, let's get into the paint. All right, so now I've got a couple of the base coat layers down on the speed shapes, but I wanted to make a point about how you apply PlastiDip to your surfaces. So PlastiDip is different from spray paint in that with spray paint, you typically want light coats because you don't want to go too heavy because you can get the product to run. With PlastiDip, it's a little bit different. Obviously, you still want somewhat light coats. You don't want to go super, super heavy. But when you're applying PlastiDip, you have to fully wet out the surface in order for the product to then lay flat afterwards. All right, so I just did one of my tan ones. So as you can see, this one, which is the one that I just sprayed, looks super glossy because it's still wet. You want to fully wet out that surface so that the product can then level out as it starts to dry. And this is what it looks like before you spray it, basically just in between coats. Now, as you guys can see, it is raining pretty hard today. And what that means is that the humidity in the air is much higher than normal. And when you're spraying PlastiDip or when you're spraying just standard spray paint, one of the things that you have to consider is how humid the air is, because that will affect how the product dries on the surface. So I sprayed my black, which is the sort of the first one in my sequence, a good 15 minutes ago, and it's still not dry, whereas previously it had been drying relatively quickly. All right guys, so it's been a couple of days. The weather has improved pretty significantly. I've had some issues with the car, but that's a completely different story for a whole nother video. So we're about to jump into our first batch of our color effect, and I'm going to be starting with the Blaze Red Microflake. All right, so first things first, I've got to get my Dip Pearl top coat opened up and mixed well. All right, so because of the fact that I'm going to be doing a very small batch, just because this is like my small scale testing, I'm going to have to like bring the proportions of the amount of the flake and the pearl that I'm using down to really, really small amounts. Because really, I'm only going to be using about 8 ounces of the Dip Pearl top coat, so I'm only going to end up using like a teaspoon and a half of the actual like pearl and microflake. So, and that's it. I mean, that's all I'm really using. That's about 8 ounces. I'm going with smaller batches, and if I need to make more, we can make more as we go on. And that's all she wrote, just 1/4 teaspoon of the microflake, because I'll use a lot less of the microflake compared to how much of the pearl I would use. And so, to be honest with you guys, because of the fact that I've never really used this system, before I actually start spraying my parts, I'm just gonna do some test passes over top of my little platform table that I have set up. So you wanna have like a 5 to 7 inch tall kind of long oval pattern. And obviously like the guys who make this product describe this much better than I can, but this is just my first go at it. So before I jump onto the parts, I'm just gonna spray onto my little surface that I have set up here. And again, I'm gonna be wearing my respirator because safety. All right guys, so that's the first coat down, and honestly, it's looking pretty good. You can definitely see that red microflake in there. It is a little bit hard to tell, but I think you guys can see definitely the red flake looking quite good. On the white, it's almost kind of like a cinnamon color, as you can see, like on the bottoms, like all the way around the base. I didn't necessarily get the best coverage, but this stuff wets out because the sprayer puts out so much volume. This stuff wets out so quick. So you can see, this is the tan one. So this is again kind of representing the gray color, just in terms of like light to dark color depth. I was thinking that the black with the red flake was the one that I was gonna like the best in terms of with like the flakes. Once we get to the pearls, I think that I will end up liking either the white or the tan a little bit better with the pearl than I will with the black. But I'm gonna let these dry and then we'll jump in and do the second coat. All right, so that's the second coat on, and honestly, the black one is looking really, really good. Like that's pretty much exactly where I want it to be. So I'll show you guys that. All right, so now I've got, there you go. I'm holding my phone up as a flashlight on it. You guys can see how nice and even and saturated that red flake is. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. The black one is definitely the best. Definitely the best by far. I can't get that to focus. So now that I've got the two coats down, I'm pretty content with how the black came out of all the colors. With the flake, I knew that the black one was gonna be, probably end up being my favorite. So I'm pretty happy with that. So at this point, I'm gonna start stacking a couple layers of just plain clear coat, because the issue with the microflake is that because the particle size is a bit larger than like the pearl, you have to kind of bury it under clear coat, or else it'll have a rough texture from the particles sticking out from the surface. So I'm gonna get my paint cup cleaned out and just fill it up with some standard clear top coat. Give it probably, I think, 2 to 3 coats. I think that's gonna be it for that one. And then we'll jump into the color shifting pearl. All right, so yeah, this is what it looks like in the sunlight. It's got that nice glossy finish. Obviously it's not a perfect spray because that's really on me. But as you can see, that red microflake really pops out from the black and just makes it stand out. And so now I'm gonna start prepping to get the red Martian pearl put together. All right, I've got my other 3 pieces taped down to the board. I've got my pearl mixed up. Let's go. All right, so definitely an interesting result on the first spray. I knew that spraying this red Martian pearl over top of the black was going to essentially give it a complete red to gold color, whereas spraying it over top of lighter colors like the white and the tan would give it more of a color effect. But I didn't think I was gonna like the black with the red Martian pearl quite as much as I do. So again, it's a little bit hard to see here, but it's already got, this is just one coat, and it's already got this really deep, kind of rich red to gold kind of a shift. I'm already liking that more than I kind of, yeah, I mean, you can see it's almost like bronze up here and like gold right where like the highlights kind of smack. All right, so on this bottom row, we have the 3 different colors with the microflakes, and on the top row, we have the 3 different colors with the red Martian pearl. Now, just comparing the 2 tans, they actually, like from here on camera, they actually look kind of similar. I mean, they have that kind of red effect kind of popping up in the sunlight, but yeah, like I was saying earlier, this just kind of looks a little bit speckly. It doesn't really give quite the effect we were hoping for. But this, I definitely like the pearl better on the tan than the microflake, because of the fact that the particle size is a little bit smaller. Yeah, and you can see there as the sun hits it, it goes from a tan and it really brightens up into that red, into the gold. It's actually super bright outside right now, so it's a little bit hard to tell. But if we take a look at the white with the microflake definitely has that speckle look. Not necessarily what we're going for, but definitely an interesting experiment nonetheless. And then the white with the Martian, with the red Martian pearl, definitely has that similar kind of red to gold color effect in the sunlight. So that's also very nice. But to be honest, I'm kind of stuck between these two. The black with the red microflake had me at first. I was like, that's gotta be the one.
as the sun hits it, you really see those large particle red microflakes come in. Really, really nice pop, and I think that would work really, really well on the interior of the BRZ, and that's really what this whole experiment is for in the first place. So that's definitely enticing, but this, I'm actually liking this so much more than I really thought I would. The black with the red Martian pearl is so sick. It's basically got like a deep red base color because the red really fills up the black in the background. But when the sun hits it, it just fires off super bright gold and bronze. Man, that is so, so, so nice. I'm gonna have a bit of a tough time deciding between which of these two I'm gonna go with for the interior panels. So that is gonna wrap it up, guys, for this episode. This whole experiment has been very interesting, very rewarding. Had a lot of fun kind of learning the DipYourCar sprayer system and really, you know, getting it dialed in and getting that technique down of how you spray it and the overlap and everything. So really, this should go to show that PlastiDip is not just for spraying your wheels matte black anymore. PlastiDip is a super, super versatile product and can be used for a number of different things, from spraying your entire car to just spraying your interior panels a different color with a super cool color effect like I'm planning to do. So leave me a comment down below which of the colors or color combinations you guys like best and which one you think I'm gonna go with for the interior of my car. If you like this video, drop it a like down below. If you want to see more from me, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll see you guys on the next one.